Just this week, Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Terry Green ruled against LAPD's Special Order 7. This special order was another attempt by the Los Angeles Political Police Department to give illegal aliens a free pass to drive without a license without getting in too much trouble. Lead attorney for Judicial Watch, Paul Orphanides, explained the genesis of Special Order 7.
I guess it was April 2012, LA decided that it didn't like what the state law said about impounding vehicles driven by certain categories of unlicensed drivers. So it was going to try to minimize the impact of it. LA thought that the state law was too harsh.
Too harsh. Requiring a license and insurance was too much to ask of people who are driving here illegally. Representing Judicial Watch, Paul Orphanides filed a lawsuit against Special Order 7 on constitutional grounds.
It's contrary to state law. State law gives officers all across the state discretion on when to impound car, when to tow a car driven by an unlicensed driver, when to impound a car for 30 days. And there's also another provision that requires impounds, and that can lead to a civil forfeiture of the vehicle.
Paul attacked the special order using state preemption.
State law also says, to the extent something is spelled out in the vehicle code, a local government cannot change that unless we've expressly authorized it. So there was no express authorization to cities like LA to change state law. They went ahead and did anyway.
Typical of many current government entities, they ignored the law and obstinately declared their own policy. Judicial Watch saw this as unlawful and filed suit to stop the police department.
The court agreed with us just yesterday, agreed with us almost across the board in terms of accepting all of our arguments, that it was an ultra vires act, it was beyond the city's authority, it was preempted by state law, it was not guidance, it was not an attempt to try to accommodate Fourth Amendment concerns, it was just unlawful.
We asked him to explain the premise that the police department used to justify such an unlawful policy.
They had two main arguments. One was that Special Order 7 was just guidance that they were just giving their officers. And the other was that they needed to do this in order to avoid Fourth Amendment claims, Fourth Amendment lawsuits brought against the state for unlawfully seizing people's vehicles.
But there were all kinds of useful reasons to continue the state policy of impounding vehicles.
Someone is pulled over, they're found not to be having a license, or they're found that their license is suspended, the car is impounded for 30 days. The police do an inventory search of the car. They find narcotics, they find guns, they find other evidence of a crime. That person goes to jail. So it's a very useful law enforcement tool to fight crime. So it has the dual purpose of deterring unlicensed driving, and it's a great crime-fighting tool.
Well, now, why on earth would the police chief and the city council, or city fathers, want to take away this tool of law enforcement to find lawbreakers?
I do not understand that. I cannot understand why they would want to do that.
Perhaps the city was bending to the political pressure of the pro-illegal immigrant groups and the ACLU, who jumped in on this case.
The lawyers from the ACLU were standing up and making basically these policy arguments about why it would be good policy to loosen up on the impound laws. And the judge says, well, that could be a fine policy choice, but the place to have that debate is in the legislature. The LA Police Department doesn't have the authority to make its own policy choices. The legislature makes that. So that's the place to have that policy debate. What is not appropriate is for LA to decide it's going to go its own way, that it doesn't like state law, so it's going to try to water down state law.
But this special order is just one example of the breakdown of the rule of law. As Paul points out, this is happening on a national scale. He cites recent actions by our president.
You have the example of Obamacare, with the requirement that corporations or businesses with more than 50 employees provide health insurance coverage for their employees. And he's pushed that date for that, the effective date for that statute back by a year. I mean, it's in the statute when it's supposed to take effect, and he's decided that they're gonna put it off for a year. There's no authority for that. Generally, Congress makes the laws. The President enforces the law.
The people are accepting the fact that the laws can be changed by one person?
I hope not. I mean, I think that's just lawlessness. I don't think that's leadership. It's almost the definition of tyranny if one person can say what the law is.
The founding of the United States was unique by establishing the rule of law instead of the rule of elites. We ask Paul to define the purpose of the rule of law.
Provides stability, predictability, order. Rule of law is the fundamental basis for protecting our freedoms, because without rule of law you just have arbitrary government action, and no one is safe from that. No one is free. So this process of having a process for deciding what the law is and then following the law, fundamentally it protects our liberty. Arguably, we're doing harm to our liberty and our freedom when we ignore rule of law.
We want to know what you, the viewers, think. Please respond to our survey and leave your comments below. Number 1, do you think that we are losing our freedoms because our leaders on all levels are ignoring the rule of law? Yes or no? Number 2, do you approve of the Los Angeles Police Department being used as a tool to defy state law? Yes or no? Please be sure to leave your comments below. I'm Leslie Dutton. Thank you.